500
it's not your wife either.
It's not my wife either. Yes. Is to link it to a user, and so we can know actually the face behind the SIM card. That's the relationship on that side. So it's about putting a face on the identity side to the number and to all the phone or data card that anybody can use.
At Pura, we have something called the advertisement codes and standards, where people can opt out to be left out of open directories. If you say, I don't want to be, just like Gamtel used to do it on directory and X directories. So it's exactly the same. If you want your data to be shared for marketing purposes by the service providers, then by all means this can happen. But if you also choose to suppress it, then this also will happen. So the phone record Sampo is talking about is for those statistical purposes and for the use of Pura in terms of knowing how many subscribers are out there, and also maybe the other government bodies that would need it for different purposes in terms of taxation and stuff like that. So it will make it easier for that. As of now, that is not as easy as it should be.
We have the joint sensitization, we have the training of customer care staff. It's done on a one-on-one-to-one basis whereby role plays are performed, whereby I could act as a subscriber. Immigration Task Force is the other arm of the Pura's coordination. We are dealing with the immigration team and the IEC team, verification team, who collates the data, does an analysis, and then sends the data back to Pura with the list of successful registration. The GSM operators on one hand and the verification task force on the other, where Pura acts as the conduit between, if you travel, even within the sub-region, even as close as Ghana, it's a mandatory process. So we rely on you guys to get the message out to the people, have them register in droves.
We understand that some of you are even doing programs where, you know, phone-in programs that you do, and then people get to call and ask questions. But if you know what to say, and this might be a way of us giving you content in some of these programs. If you are sort of any, then, you know, by all means, you know, you can do it, because you would have been very aware of what SIM card registration is all about. The training of customer care staff we talked about. The reason why we did that is we felt that it is important not to only talk to the top management of Afrisel, Gamtel, Gamcel, or QCell, but rather the people that are actually doing it. We find that the problem is 9 out of 10 times is with them. If they don't understand it, then they don't do it well, because the information does not cascade well enough to them for them to understand what they need to be doing in terms of that. That's why we brought them here, and we have discussions with them, and they told us what their constraints are, what problems are out there, and we have taken this on board, and hopefully we'll do the same with you, and you'll tell us what you think, and we'll see how we work from that. Data collection and entry, he said, data storage is very important. The security of the data that we take it very seriously, which either I'm sure after the break we'll go into compliance and continuous assessment. You'll agree, without the operators complying and without us continuously assessing what is happening, it means the whole thing again can fail, and this is something we're doing as well. Types of IDs required. He talked about IEC. We've been asked this question before, why IEC? The reason why we did that is we want to make this thing as inclusive as possible. In that IEC, you know, the elections just passed, a lot of people have that ID. Just to make sure that there's more people that can register as opposed to the ID card, which is at cost. People pay to get that. So some people might not necessarily be able to have a $300 or $500 to get an ID card, but they would have a voter's card which was issued free of charge. So that is why we included that, and that's the only reason why they're there. So if ID cards were 100% available, then obviously it would have been easier for us. But just to make it inclusive, we included the ID card as well.
What I want to ask is, like, we do understand that all of these GSM networks claims to be the cheapest in the Gambia. Sometimes we realize it's not even true, because they claims to offer so many services that are best to we, the subscribers. And sometimes when you use it, you realize they claim to be they said they're the cheapest, but it's somehow different. So what is Pura doing towards this? Since Pura is the body that is regulating all these GSM networks in the Gambia. When a GSM network claims to be the cheapest and we later realize it's not true, so what is Pura doing towards this?
So when you start registering your SIM cards and you start taking ownership of your line, you now have an additional right to demand what type of services you want. And you also have the right to now say, these are my rights, these are your obligations, these are your duties. So SIM card registration would empower a subscriber to be able to say, you are telling me that this is, I am so-and-so, I'm registered this number. You told me that this network provides A, B, and C, and I found that that is not the case. And because now you have an identity, it's not just about calling 111, but even walking into the GSM operator's office, you are now registered as somebody who can come in and actually demand that your rights are fulfilled. So it is somehow linked to what we're trying to bring about now, is awareness as to what your GSM operator owes you, and what you as a subscriber can also ensure that you're given.
Last time I lost my phone with my SIM card, just few days before this SIM card registration. Okay, I sent one of my staff to go and renew my SIM card for me. Okay, he went to give him my ID card number. Okay, after a few days I heard that there is SIM card registration going on. So it doubts me a lot whether I should go again and register by myself or my SIM card have already registered. I don't know which is which.
The subscriber who is not aware of the rules, if a GSM operator tells you to do something, you do it because you believe that they are aware of the rules that they are complying with. So unfortunately, it's a burden on the subscriber who has to go again and re-register. But why we're appealing to subscribers to re-register is simply because it's for your own personal safety and for your own welfare. We're not holding the GSM operators accountable at this point because, as Solo said, we've realized that you can tell the managing director the rules, but who's applying those rules is the customer care staff. That's why over the past 2 months, we've been bringing them and explaining to them why you have to come in person, why you have to register yourself in person.
The handout is saying by 15 June, it will be mandatory to register or to be deregistered, to be disconnected. Mandatory decision could be just or unjust. Just if it have the bargain of a law, and you know what I mean. Unjust if it is arbitrarily done. I would like to know if the SIM card registration have the bargain of the law, and if so, which provision of the law?
The Information Communications Act, which was passed in 2000, has provisions for SIM card registration, which I'll go into in detail in my presentation. But also to explain that PURA, as a public institution that is regulating the private sector, will not implement any decision which is against the law or which does not have the law, because we were established by an act of parliament. And therefore, anything that we do has to follow a process. Because we are accountable to the public, we are also accountable to the private sector. And they can challenge any decision that we make, as can members of the general public. So SIM card registration is indeed backed by the law.
So the GSM companies are claiming maybe they have 400, 500,000 subscribers. Maybe now against the 15, maybe 200 might register. And according to what you wrote here, they will be the rest will be disconnected. Okay, you are going to do the disconnection, or the service provider is going to do the disconnection?
Pura, obviously we don't have SIM cards and we won't be able to do that. But we license operators and they have obligations, as Ida said, through the legal framework to implement directives from Pura. So this is how the relationship is, and also the SIM card registration process. So just as we are consulting with you, we have consulted with them.
Can Pura, as the providers, service providers, at least to go into offices, especially on Mondays to Friday, because others might be busy in their offices, they will not have the time, others will go to work at least 1 month, like the security personnel. So can they go to the offices at least to look for people, and at least at the offices for them to register people there? Because others might not have the time to go in, out, and register their SIM cards.
I learned Gamcell has gone to Grts, actually the head office. I don't know where you are. So Africell also is going on to, I've talked to most of them. So they are going to see their, even not the offices, even I told if you have a big client who you know is substantial part of your, there's nothing stopping you going to his office or his residence. So that is part of the strategies that we have discussed with them. So
we've written to all the operators. On January 31st, they're supposed to give us all their schedule for going up country so that we know which areas they're going to, how long they're going to be there for, and we start publicizing it. What we're trying to do is a duplicate of what the IC does. Pick one center, and so all the villages in that center will know that we'll be here Monday to Thursday, Monday to Friday, Tuesday to Wednesday, come and register your SIM cards, and rotate around. But this is a 6-month project, so we want to do it in such a way that we don't rush at the beginning and then find out some errors, and then we have to go back again. So we're just gradually going up country slowly. And for those who are up country and very eager to register quickly, as you know, somebody in Greater Banjul area can register you as the user of the SIM card and register themselves as the owner of the SIM card. It's no longer required for you to be present